Spontaneous speaking video 42. What's up, everyone? I'm back. 40-second spontaneous speaking video. And where am I at today? Well, I'm actually at K-Mart right now, in the couch section. Y'all can probably hear the background music. I put on the headphones so that I don't have to raise my voice too much. I really don't like raising my voices in videos. Well, in general, period. But yeah, I had to make an escape to Kmart because my apartment, as usual, is full, and I wanted to speak on this while it was still fresh in my mind. I want to talk about my views on disciplining children and basically, in a sense, parenting. And this has been something that I've actually thought about a lot, and I wanted to talk about for a while. But my spontaneous speaking videos come off by spurts. So if something arouses that inner something inside me, then I feel like, okay, it's time to go off and say it. And today we were having a huge discussion about it, me, David, and some church members at our auntie's place. Well, we call everybody auntie. And yeah, so we just had a huge discussion on it, and I was able to share some of my views and take on a few things as well, like a story that one of the aunties said, that I'll be sharing. But the first thing that I want to share is how my dad disciplined me. And I plan to do the same thing to my kids. So basically, just moving right along, my father, he disciplined me by, when I reached the age of 13, my dad basically told me that this is how he was going to do things. Sorry it's taking me so long. I'm just trying to find the best way to explain it. He gave me a kind of 3-strike system. He said, the first time that I do something wrong, and it's 3 strikes for each individual wrong thing, just so you know. So the first time that I do something wrong, he's going to tell me, hey, Denzel, that's bad. Don't do that. Second time I do something wrong, he's going to be like, yo, Denzel, I already warned you, that's wrong. Don't do that. And then the third, fourth, however many more times that he, has to tell me, he's not even going to tell me. He's just going to go ahead and discipline me. I actually really liked that method, because first off, I only hit the third strike twice. I think one of them was, one of the times I hit the third strike was, I guess, being disrespectful, in I grew up with African parents. My parents are from Ghana, so they don't play that suck in your teeth type of. If they call you, you don't say what or yes. You say yes, dad, yes, mom, stuff like that. So if you say what, that's disrespect. So basically, I think something like the third time when I did that, he slapped me or something, and I didn't reach a fourth strike after that. And then another time was for stealing. I had a very big problem with sticky hands when I was younger. I have not stolen in over a decade now, so that's good. But yeah, that method that my dad used was actually very effective, because the way that he was doing was, the first time he would tell me that it's wrong. So even if I already knew that it was wrong, he was telling me anyways if I didn't know. The second time, he was telling me it was wrong again. As in yo, just in case if you forgot the first time, I'm warning you again for a second time. Don't lie again. Yo, Denzel, don't steal again. Denzel, please do not answer what when I call you. Now the third time, it's okay, I already done warned you twice. I already told you that this is wrong. Obviously, it's not working. So now I'm just going to have to beat it into you. And you're going to, it's kind of like math. You're going to apply that beating with, that action. And I think that's a good method, because, every time you get beat from that third ongoing time, you're relating that to the first 2 strikes. So then you'll keep it in mind. Now, I just got distracted by a text message. Sorry about that. All right, now I also want to share something that my aunt told me, a story that she shared. She said that basically she knew of a family that they used to come to the church and they were like counselors or something, or maybe they were at her job. I don't really remember the details. I just remember the overall message. Basically, what this family practiced was they were marriage counselors, and they were and what they practiced was every week the father would ask his 5 children, I believe, okay, so and so, Derek, um, what things did I do this past week that you didn't like? Okay, how about you, Emily? How about you, Emily? What did I do this week that you didn't like? And he would list all of those things down. And then he would keep them in mind, he would learn from them, and if anything, he would he would basically like use that, and he would also use that as a means to converse with his children, because it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that I offended you without, like, I didn't know that I offended you this past week when I did that. Or, okay, let me explain to you why I responded in that way, or I disciplined you in that way. And that way, the children have much more of a connection, because discipline without love, I don't think it's not necessary. I have a few relatives actually. One in particular comes to mind, where everything that I did right, like getting good grades, all of that, I never got a good job. I never even got a hello whenever I would come home. But whenever somebody else, like whenever my auntie, sorry about that. Whenever, oh my goodness, whenever my auntie would complain about me not vacuuming the house or me not washing the dishes or something like that, he had something to input. And it got to a point, like right now, this relative to this day, he does not speak to me. He literally pretends as if I don't exist. Because one day I specifically just outright told him, like, hey, I don't respect, or I don't like how you always have something bad to say about me, but you never congratulate me for anything good that I do. So let me tell you this. If you're not going to congratulate me on the good, if you're not even going to encourage me, if you're only going to put negativity in my life, then I would just rather you not say anything at all. Now I'm thinking that like he might like change, and I said it more respectfully, of course, but in essence he took that as disrespect, and now he's like, all right, well then I guess I'm just never gonna interact with this guy ever again. And it's been a very rough past 4 years since then, working with this guy, or living with this guy. But nonetheless, as a parent, and of course I'm not a parent right now, but I believe that it would, I'm really sorry about all of that, but we'll just keep on going anyway. As a parent, I really heavily believe that it's important to express our encouragement to our children. It's important to express, like, whenever they do something good, even if you don't think it's a big deal, like, tell them, like, yo, good job, Joe, good job on whatever the child did, and then even when they do something bad, don't be so quick to just, like, yell at them. Sit them down and be like, hey, when you did this, this is how it made me feel. I really love how Mufasa disciplined Simba in Lion King. And I refer to Lion King often, actually. But I just really relate to Mufasa. Go figure, ENFJ. But that's how I would have disciplined my child as well. Deliberately disobeyed me. But then he sat him down and he got to understand him. He's like, Simba, I only do this, I only act brave, like, when I really feel it's necessary. I only do this, I only do that. Then they got all playful and everything. But he made sure to still let Simba know the lesson at the end of the day. It's kind of like Full House too. On Full House, they have that, music playing, and they sit the child down and they talk to the child, and I feel like that type of discipline is beautiful, because the child now understands why what they did was wrong, and then at the same time they I hate spontaneous speaking videos nowadays, but I'm going to school on the 23rd. So just bear with me until I get back in my own room and own space and all that. Sorry. Anyway, so Mufasa, Simba, and Full House. Like I just think that it's very important for us to sit down and allow the children to understand what they're doing wrong. Another thing that I pointed out was my parents are great parents. They parented me fantastically. If I just had to change one thing or improve one thing that I wish that they would have done when I was younger, was to explain to me why certain things were wrong. So, like, for example, when I was in fourth grade, that was actually the first time that I'd ever heard of like boyfriend, girlfriend type of stuff. And everybody in my school seemed to be doing it. And then one girl wanted to be my girlfriend. Oh, wow. I didn't even know what that means. It was up to the point where she asked me, she was like, "So, are you going to ask me out?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, but I don't have a car, and I don't think that my dad will allow me." And she starts laughing, and she's like, "No, silly. To ask someone out just literally means to go out with them, as in, like, well, not literally, figuratively means like, oh, like we are now together." I didn't really understand all of that, but basically I talked to my parents about, boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever, and basically they said the typical African answer. Yo. Okay. And basically they gave me the typical answer. Like, "Hey, we don't want you to have any type of boyfriend, girlfriend, type of nonsense." And they don't really talk like that. Well, Africans do, but not my parents. But basically that's how they said. Like they were just telling me like, "Oh no, we don't want you to have any type of girlfriend, anything like that," because their logic, according to what I remember, was when you get a girlfriend, you're gonna get pregnant. And so eventually I'm just thinking to myself like, "Oh, well then in that case, I'm just not going to get the girl pregnant." Now, that's probably not the best example, but if they had explained to me stuff like, "Oh, if you steal, then these are the consequences," or "If you lie, these are the consequences," or "This is why we believe that you should not have a girlfriend at this age. This is why, especially like with sex before marriage, these are the consequences or possible, well, consequences that come with sex before marriage." If you sit down your child and you explain all of this stuff to them, then I feel like they'll be much more likely to actually like keep those rules, keep those principles in mind, because now they understand that, oh, you only want the best for them. That's why you're telling them. It's not just rules that you're just throwing out there, but you are now you have now put a reason behind those rules. So like, hey, this is not good because A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And after you explain all of that, then they're able to understand it. Now, some children, they're just going to have to learn on their own. Some of them will stray from your direction and they'll put their hand on the stove, get burnt, and then that burn will remind them, okay, you know what, maybe I should do better. But nonetheless, I believe like the overarching message that I'm giving is that we should really like take the time to sit down with our children, and when we discipline them, make sure it's out of love. And I hate the whole, "Oh, I'm older than you, so therefore I'm wiser than you" mentality. It's not always true. I know a lot of Africans have that type of mentality, and I actually combat that a lot. My grandmother likes to say it a lot, like, "Denzel, my grandfather likes to say it a lot too, like, I'm decades older than you." He's like 90 something, and so he's like, "Oh, I know more than you, I'm wiser than you, I've been here longer than you, I've been here," stuff like that. And it's like, parents, please understand that yes, you're older, and we will, hopefully, we will listen to your advice, as in like we'll literally listen to it and we'll try and accept it. But if it doesn't apply to our life, or if we feel like you don't really understand the proper context of where you're trying to give us this advice, or it just doesn't fit, or it's outdated, then trust that we know what we're doing as well. I know, for example, that I do not know more than my parents. I do not know more than my grandfather, all of that. I'm not saying that I'm wiser than he is, but I just also want older people to understand that, hey, the rule of trade or that old saying about older means wiser, because I'm 90 something years old and you are 20 something years old. I know way more than you. I have more experience than you. That does not mean that every single thing that you say is going to be accurate, that's going to be right. And so I think the last thing I'm going to say to wrap up this video is on religion. I am terribly sorry about that. This is the best place that I can find. And I didn't expect this many announcements. Okay, so on religion, I plan to raise my children in a Christian home, and I'm going to teach them, about the principles of the Bible, and I'm going to teach them about like apologetics. I still have that video in the making. As soon as I get back to Lynchburg, then I'll put it out. My video on the misconceptions of Christianity and how to know if, like, the Bible is really reliable and all of that. So I haven't forgotten about that, but yeah. I plan to raise my children with biblical principles and teach them what it means to have an authentic relationship with God for themselves. I don't want them to go off of my salvation. I don't want them to go off of my relationship with God. I want to teach them to have their own personal relationship with God, so that when we all go to heaven, then God can look at me, yo, what's up, Denzel, blah, blah, blah. Yo, what's up, whoever wife is, whoever children are, all of that, and so basically that's kind of like how I plan to do it. And I would hope that, just as the Bible says, that train a child in the way they should go and they'll never depart from it. It's a proverb, so it's a principle that I believe would not always hold 100% true, because I'm sure there's lots of instances where children were raised in the proper manner and they just lost their way. But I would be praying, and I already started praying for my children, my future children, and I'm hoping that I'll be a good father to them. I'll be able to help them, on the right path, and it'll reach a point where I do want them to question their faith. Is Christianity actually the true religion? Is Christianity actually like the true faith? That is God actually real? I want them to ask these questions. I want them to ask me. I want them to, seek answers, so that when they come back around and they find these answers, their faith is stronger than ever. We should not be afraid to ask these questions, especially if we believe that Christianity is indeed the true faith. But yeah, it's not going to be anything by force. It's just more of like, hey, this is how what I believe. This is what I believe that you should believe, but I would want you to believe it by yourself. I'd much rather lead by inspiration than by authority. And so, that's pretty much all that I have to say for today. Y'all can drop thoughts, comments in the description area. I wrote a blog called Dear Future Daughter, and I have one called Dear Future Son, and it's 5 tips that I have for my daughter and the 5 tips I have for my son. I'll put the links to both of those blog articles for anybody who's wanting to read it in the description below. Once again, sorry about all of the havoc. But yeah, thanks for watching. Drop comments, any feedback, any type of disagreements that you may have, respectful disagreements as usual. I would love to hear them. And yeah, thanks for watching. Done.